All right, today we are going to go to a couple different destinations here and check out if hopefully we can see whether FSD version 14.1.4 has any better ability to see chains that are across the path. So there was an area that had some chains up. I'm hoping they still do have some chains remaining that we can test it with. In the meantime, we are at least going to test a couple other destinations just to see how it's going. We do not yet have FSD version 14.2. However, it does appear to be rolling out to a decent number of folks. Still haven't gotten it. I'm trying to patiently wait for that, but it's kind of tough. I'm really excited to get 14.2. 14.2 is supposed to be the one that is super smooth and also has all the new abilities that 14.1 has. So that would be really the main wide release version, hopefully, that would go out to everybody and fix a lot of those problems we've had with like leaves blowing across. Hopefully, although I haven't heard whether 14.2 has fixed the leaves problem, but hopefully fix some of those things as well as uh, the stuttering, the brake stuttering that we have sometimes with like indecisions around pedestrians and doing right on red and stop signs and that sort of thing. Sometimes it just kind of gets freaked out by what other people are doing. So hopefully we're going to get some smoothness around those areas. I have been using FSD 14.1.4 a lot on our hardware for Model Y here. Um, and I really do like it. I'm able to do a lot of zero intervention and zero disengagement drives. The main things that have come up is the speed issue. So I don't believe that they've actually done anything about the speed issue, and I think it's mostly around mapping data, because if it doesn't know the speed limit, the speed profiles don't allow you to do a max speed, and it can end up with you just going way faster than you should be going, even in sloth, if it thinks that the speed limit is much higher than it actually is. So that's the main thing that's been a trouble, and then I just want the smoothness to come out of it. We've seen less leaves these days, so although it is still fall and there are still leaves around, it seems like the largest amount of leaves have already fallen now. So not seeing as much of that situation, but okay, we're going a wide way. Technically, this is like the truck route for Publix. We're going to stop here, see if it chooses a space. I mean, any of these spaces would have been fine. It does say parking lot, so we should be actually stopping in a parking lot. Looks like maybe it's going to pick... thought maybe it was going to pick like the closest space to the front there, but... Now, interesting, if I'm at a grocery store, I actually would not want to back into a space because I would want to be able to get access to my trunk easy with the shopping cart and everything. So it's hopefully coming in a later version of FSD where we would actually have the option to pick, how we want it to park, where we want it to park, that sort of thing. So we will see about that. All right, so it did a good job. Again, aside from I would have nosed in at a space at the grocery store rather than what it chose to do there and back into a space. Did a good job of parking. It didn't do it in one shot, but it did a good job of parking nice and evenly in the space. So we're just continuing on to our next destination. So this destination should have, hopefully, those chains that are across the drive. If there's not a chain there to go across the path, then we'll have to hopefully find another place. But I do want to continue testing on that, uh, thin chain or something that's kind of blocking a path that's not very visible. I mean, obviously I can see that, but the hardware 3 car on version 12 and even the hardware 4 car here on version 13 did not respond to those chains. It did seem that the hardware 4 car on version 13 did hesitate more before trying to drive through that chain that's blocking the way, but it still would have just driven into it, so I did have to disengage. So will be something interesting to see if we can get it to see those chains, and that's definitely something that, in my opinion, they're going to have to get things like that. I know it's like sort of an edge case, but they're going to have to get things like that solved before you can do unsupervised, unless they start doing significant work on map data, which at this point doesn't seem like they have been focusing much at all on map data. That would be very helpful, actually. And I think that's what they're doing in areas like Austin, where they actually have robotaxi going. They kind of validate it with, first of all, they have supervisors in the car, and then they have cars that they take out in that area, and they, I think, get better map data to validate the whole area and evaluate the situations that they could come across. But it's still, I mean, it only takes one time driving through a chain or something that's not going to be good. So got to avoid that. So it should be pretty uneventful here from this destination to where we have a chain, but if anything comes up, I will definitely mention it. Everything has been smooth up to this point. This is the location here where they used to have some chains up, although some human drivers, I would assume, actually did run into them and knock them down. So they did take a lot of them out. I'm hoping they still have some of them available to test with. So they used to have one here. It's gone. They used to have one so you couldn't drive behind here. So obviously that's gone. And honestly, I would normally not drive behind. Oh, and maybe that's why. Look at that. Oh, nice. Okay, so we're going around this big, I think they had, some sort of overhang or something for that, where they don't want people driving around back there. And so they used to have these chains here. You can see they took the chains down. Some of them got ripped out of the ground, and the chains actually did get taken down, the ones that didn't get ripped out of the ground. So unfortunately, we're not going to get to test those chains. I will have to find some other location at some point where we can test that out. And we're going to go ahead and back in at our destination. I did like how it went around that, big hole that they have in the pavement back there. I would normally not choose to drive that way around the building. Like, usually you don't go around the back of buildings. That's kind of a strange way to navigate, but it did it fine, and it did avoid, thankfully, going into that pothole. I definitely would have stopped it before it went, because it was a good like 8 inches or so, and it would have been bad news. So All right, so it did that flawlessly. Unfortunately, no chain test here anymore. So we'll just move on to the next destination, which is Chipotle, and see how that goes. We will have to turn out onto the road left across 2 lanes and then a turn lane. We do have the choice of getting in that turn lane if we wanted to. I don't know. A lot of times it seems like it takes the safe route and it'll just be patient and wait for clear traffic from both directions before it proceeds. There are cars coming, and yeah, and so it did. It waited for clear traffic from both directions before it proceeded out onto the road. I'm totally fine with that. I like that. Some situations, though, you would need to get into that turn lane because it's going to be extremely difficult to get out across that many lanes. So sometimes it would be more appropriate to use that turn lane. But in this case, it worked out fine. Usually not too busy there, and you usually do get that gap. So good on FSD for that situation. I don't want to jinx it, but I haven't seen any of the brake stuttering or any awkward behavior from FSD yet on this drive. Hopefully that continues. I don't know actually if, let's see if that's, yeah, okay, it does have the proper location for Chipotle. And again, we are parking lot. We're going to do parking lot, so that works. So it should just park at Chipotle. All right, so here's a situation where I don't know if it's map data or it's just like lane decisions by FSD, but in this case, Chipotle is going to be on the left. We have a decent amount of time before we have to get there, but my choice would have been to be in the left turn lane, just because of that. That usually is preferred, in my opinion, to be in the lane that you need to be in as early as you can be in it without causing any inconvenience for others. So it will, after we make this turn, need to take its time to get over at least one more lane. And it's going to do it almost immediately. See, so, I mean, it could have just already been in this lane, so I don't really know. Like, why would you choose to be in the right left turn lane instead of just being in the turn lane that would result in you being in the lane that you need to be in? I don't know. I don't know why it does that. All right. I'm still a little skeptical that it has the correct location. I guess that is. All right. Says I need to put my hand on the steering wheel a little bit because I was messing with the map too much. But we are almost there. I guess for that chain test, I'm going to have to find somewhere that maybe like a park or something, some sort of parking lot that always has a chain up across it. Not sure where that would be. But yeah. All right, so this one we're just gonna have to wait for the light. And honestly, this is pretty normal for version 14. I'm able to do most of my drives without any interaction whatsoever. I just hit start and it just goes. The only times I usually have to take over is one, if we've got a bunch of leaves blowing across the road and it freaks out for that, and I'm getting annoyed with the comfort level when it does that. Or two, there's a mapping situation where it doesn't go exactly to the right destination, or the speed situation where I will have to eventually, if it can't get the right speed profile and I need to go slower, the only option is to just disengage, unfortunately. Usually I can just drop down to sloth and then go back to chill or standard or something, and it works out. But if it doesn't have the right speed and we're going too fast, sometimes the only option is to disengage, unfortunately. I am looking forward to version 14.2 though, because it does have a tracker on how much percentage of your drives is done in FSD. So that would be interesting to track over time for sure. Unfortunately, I would probably want it to be like per profile, or at least I could say per drive or something, but it doesn't seem like they have that flexibility yet, but that'll still be a nice feature just to see overall. All right, we are going to back into this space and annoy these people. At least we're doing it pretty quickly. And we signaled, so they stopped and it was no problem. Okay, great. So this is our destination. So everything was done completely smoothly and without any trouble. The only thing that was weird about the drive is the navigation on that last destination, where it basically just went behind the store there. Definitely wouldn't be the preference. And as it turns out, there's a reason why they didn't want people driving behind that building, because it looks like they have been doing some construction back there and they don't have any proper cones or anything up to warn people that there's a big drop off in the pavement where they ripped out the old like overhang or whatever it was at that Walgreens. So that is it for this one. Another perfect drive, 3 destinations, no problem. I could have not been here and it would have done everything flawlessly. So not even brake stutters or anything. So very happy with that. Still want to see 14.2 and some of those features that are coming out with that. Hopefully we do get that soon. But until then, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.